So much math that eventually college so we're usually base and zeros and ones are base 2.
Everybody got an agenda that wants one? Everybody good? That was a good answer, good question.
Yeah, but base 4 is 4. Base 4. But you can't. No, it's 1, 2, 3, 10. Is base 4. 1, 2, 3, 10. 11, 12, 13, 20.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Everybody in the back, can you hear me? Okay, good deal. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. We appreciate y'all being here. We'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Yancey County Board of Commissioners regular business meeting, September the 9th, 2024. And we have an invocation and pledge. I've asked Commissioner Ledford if he would lead us in our invocation, and I will lead us in the pledge. Pledge, sir.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you, Lord, for this day, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings, Lord, that you've given us here, Lord, in Yancey County and in our lives, dear God. We just give you praise for that. We thank you, Lord, for watching over us, taking care of us, dear God. How you care for us, Lord. We just ask, Lord, that you would help us, Lord, look after the citizens and the business of Yancey County, Lord, now in a way that honors you, dear God, and that honors our county, dear Lord. And we just ask that you would be with each and every one that's here tonight, Lord, and just keep us all safe, Lord. Keep us all healthy, dear God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We stand for our pledge, please. Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to look over the agenda. I think we've had it a few days. If so, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
2 seconds. Madam Clerk, you can take your pick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, opposed, motion carries. On the consent agenda this month, we have several items. The approval of the August 12th, 2024 regular meeting minutes, the approval of the authority to operate and provide medical response services Yancey County Rescue Squad, and the approval of the authority to operate and provide medium rescue service for Yancey County Rescue Squad, and the approval of the statewide mutual aid agreement with the EMPG grant for emergency management, and then the approval of the AIA Yancey County Public Safety Facility, Then the approval of the AIA Yancey County 911 Communication Center, which I think we're doing the groundbreaking in a couple of weeks. Approval of the Mosley Architects post-bid addendum number 2, Public Safety and 911 Center. Approval of the tax release adjustments for 2024. And as always, the August 24 tax collection reports for informational purposes only. Do I hear a motion to, or any discussion about the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you for that. Next, we have department head updates. So we've got two ladies tonight's going to be updating for us. Ms. Sonia Morgan, she has right here on the front row. Hey, Ms. Morgan, going to be talking to us about the Department of Social Services. She's our director. Thank you for coming, Sonia.
We've been trying to get this one up here
Okay.
working. Ever since they had court today, for some reason, they use that, and we can't get on, but this one should be able to work.
Okay.
But I'll be working on that one.
Well, we've got some things to cover real quick, so, I think Morgan provided in your packet a letter of request.
We can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Microphone. Put mine on my phone.
Nope.
It's not working.
There, So in your package, you have a request that's signed by Misty Randolph, the health director, and me. The 2023 Appropriations Act, is requiring that the Community Child Protection Team, coordinated by Yancey DSS, and the Child Fatality Prevention Team, coordinated by the Health Department, be consolidated into one local team. And Misty and I met with our staff last week, and we talked about the framework and consolidating those two teams into one local team. We feel like we can do it fairly smoothly with, it's a lot of the same, team members on both of those teams. We coordinate on those teams anyway, and we decided that we'd be better suited to consolidate those teams into one single county team as opposed to a multi-county team. So we're asking that the board make a determination that we consolidate into one local county team. So if you'll make that determination for us, we would appreciate it. If you have any questions about that, we'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for me, the board member? I think we need to move forward on that. Make that motion. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Okay. Okay, so I was here in October and I brought, basically, can everybody hear me? I brought, most of the agency staff with us. We have 66, possible employees, and they almost all came last year, so we wanted everybody to see our crew. We're all very, very busy right now, so we didn't ask them to come again tonight, but I thought I would give you just an update of some things that we've been doing since last October. So, and I want to talk, first of all, I want to say I'm not whining. These are some of the challenges we've faced over the last few months, and we've got an amazing group of people that work at the agency. In spite of the challenges we face, everyone steps up, they work together, and we do everything we can to help those citizens in Yancey County. So, when I was here in October, we talked about WLOS was doing a feature story on children staying in DSS agencies, because there's a lack of foster care placements across the state, really across the country. There's a lack of beds and treatment facilities for those children that have higher acuity behaviors or maybe mental health issues. So, we had kids in our agency 10 out of the 12 months last year. We've been very blessed and fortunate this year not to have anybody have to stay overnight, but we had one teenager with us from October to December for 2.5 months. That was incredibly challenging to have a kid living in our building. We just couldn't find a placement for him. The child needed treatment and could not find a placement. So that was challenging. At the same time, we did have some overlap of other kids staying in the agency where they needed to, we were just trying to find placement for them. So I'll pause here and say, and to you people that are in the audience, if you know people that are interested in fostering, please reach out to the agency. It's a huge blessing. If you feel like that's your calling, it's a great blessing to be able to do that. Even yesterday at church, we had a group come present from the Boydell home. The Boydell Hill Children's Home in Clyde. They have 5 cottages on the campus. They're only able to staff 4 of those cottages. So even the residential facilities are struggling to find staff to take care of these kiddos. So, but we powered through, we stayed with the kids, we fed them, we found shower facilities for them, we helped them with schoolwork. So it was a challenging few months for all of us. One of the other challenges that we're facing is employee vacancies and turnover. We haven't been fully staffed since before COVID. We were almost there in our Medicaid unit, and then we have another person leave. We're still down, we just made an offer to an employee, to applicant, so we're still down 2 full-time social workers. And that's very challenging when you have other social workers having to take on additional caseloads. And then there's the cost associated with training new workers. So it's estimated that a human services employee, it costs about $50,000 to onboard that person. And when I saw those statistics, I thought that's a little exorbitant, that seems high to me, but we're funded through state and federal and county dollars. So when you look at not being able to pull down those dollars because we've got somebody in training and they're not able to work cases, that you can, over a period of time, build up, $30,000 to $50,000 in county costs just in trying to onboard staff. And an example of that is we just hired a foster care licensing and adoption social worker. It's gonna take that person probably a full year to get trained up and be able to do parenting classes, do licensing, and be able to facilitate adoptions in addition to doing their carrying regular social or foster care caseload. So I will pause here and say that the salary study that was conducted has helped. We're able to now start recruiting staff and retain veteran staff. We lost 2 of those social workers to other counties prior to the pay study, so we appreciate that. That's gonna help us tremendously be able to retain staff. So our reports and cases, we're getting more complex cases, even in Medicaid and food stamps. We're having to do a lot of additional work as a result of some lawsuits in Medicaid. We have to do duplicate applications for Medicaid. We have more complex cases in our services side. It's a lot more policy that we have to meet. Our foster care workers are having to travel across the state to see our children who are placed in different areas in the state. And we do have 2 cases placed outside of North Carolina and other states. So those workers are responsible for working those cases. So they have to get on a plane, fly to those placements, and just follow up and do their case management services with the kiddos. So it's a lot. We're getting a lot more adult reports. I think we had 17 adult reports last month. Those are potential abuse, neglect, self-neglect, exploitation reports that we're having to investigate. Some of those are screened in, and they get case management or guardianship services. Some do not, and they're not eligible really for social services. So we do resource referrals for those individuals. We don't want to just leave them out there. Some of them struggle a little bit. We do some outreach work with them. And I'll pause here and say we appreciate our community paramedics. I asked Christy a few months back, is there any way we could get a second one? Because I feel like we keep poor Evan busy just at the agency. But if we, the more prevention that we can do, yes. And I went back and told the staff after the last department head meeting, and I said if any of us could turn cartwheels, we would have been turning cartwheels to find out that we do have another one, because that's preventative. It's preventative services that we're offering to people in the county, and if we can keep them in their homes and keep them independent, that's huge. Another crisis in Yancey County and across North Carolina is child care. We currently have 63 children on the wait list for our county-run daycare. That is unprecedented. We have never had that many kids waiting for child care at that center. And we just recently learned that our child care subsidy funding has been substantially reduced. So we're having to work with our partnership to use some Smart Start funds, the non-Smart Start funds from the state, and we'll be coordinating with the contractor that we work with to manage our subsidy to try to maximize that funding. So all of that sounds a little not bleak, but we are powering through. We're trying to think outside the box and continue to serve our people. We've had some really exciting things happen over the last couple of months that I want to highlight. Medicaid expansion, that was huge. Since December 1st of 2023, 990 residents are now receiving health care coverage from Medicaid expansion. So those are your 19 to 64-year-olds that just simply couldn't afford, healthcare coverage. And so now we currently have 5,139 Yancey County residents receiving healthcare coverage through a Medicaid product, and that's almost 28% of our population. So those numbers are pretty staggering. On October the 13th, we held an adoption celebration. So at the end of last fiscal year, we had adopted out 12 children. When we bring children into custody, our first and foremost primary goal is to try to reunify them with their families. And when that's not possible, adoption or guardianship becomes the plan. So we did have 12 of those children adopted out. We had the adoptive families and some foster care families attended the event. This is some staff, we can't put foster children's pictures up, but these are some staff that attended that worked the event. Other agency staff participated. We had a teenager who had been in our custody for 5 years who was our speaker, and we had a magician, and that young man was adopted, I think it was in October, November of last year. So even a teenager, I think he was 16 when he was adopted, so that was pretty exciting. We get some promotional funding from the state that helps promote foster care and adoption, so we use that funding for these events. We use them for training classes. We use them to help families with some of their expenses when they're trying to get licensed or they adopt children. So this was a fun thing to do. It was, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. You listen to that kid. It was something else. So this was one of our biggest undertakings this year. We held our first annual Senior Resource Fair in June. June is Elder Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. We had agency staff coordinated the event. We had all kinds of county departments that participated. We had a lot of vendors that participated. And these are the staff that participated. We also had staff on hand that did Medicaid or had information for Medicaid and food stamps, and we had a private area where people could go off and apply if they wanted to. I had a conversation with someone who had recently moved to the county and was looking for a healthcare provider. We referred them to the health department. They were very excited that someone was going to take them as a patient, so that was exciting. And then here's another couple of pictures of the event. You can see how many people, how many vendors participated. We had probably 100 people come for the event. We've gotten lots of feedback and people requesting let's do it again. So it was a big event, and it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed doing that for our community. Our daycare participated in the Sizzling Summer Series event. The theme this year was Rainbow Fish, and that was June 29th, and you can see their set up there. They also had an octopus, a googly-eyed octopus in a box with kids love. So you can't see the googly-eyed octopus, but he was there. And so we've tried to be very intentional about being a positive presence in the community. We've tried to make people aware of the services we provide and the resources that we provide. So we want them to know that we are a service agency and we are here to help in our community. It's important to us and our workers. We've got an impressive group of people, and they really serve with their hearts. So it's a great place to work and to be able to serve. And I wanted to thank the board. We appreciate your continued support, and county management for your support, and also the citizens for entrusting us to take care of each other in the community. It's a privilege to be able to do that. So
We really appreciate what you do.
thank you.
The tireless work that y'all do, and it takes a special person. Everybody can't do what y'all do. And we do appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
All right, next in our the department head updates is Miss Christy Bryant. She's with our EMS department. She's our director. Thanks for coming, Christy.
Thank you for having me.
And thank all the people with the EMS and Rescue Squad. We appreciate y'all being here. Thank you.
Alright, so while this is pulling up, I know I gave a department head update back in April. I was newer to the position. I came in June of 2023, but we've had a lot of exciting things happen since April, and there's a lot of things that I wanted to share with the community, updates on things that we had in the works that we've got accomplished now, since I reported back in April. So I'll talk just a little bit about the background in EMS. So in 1974, North Carolina mandated that every county had to have an ambulance. So until then, previous 1974, ambulances were ran out of the funeral homes in hearses. So we've come a long way when you look at it from that aspect. In April 1st, 1982, Yancey County went to the EMT basic level. They had one duty truck and one standby truck. And in 1986, Clay Carroll became the EMS director and advanced the service to what we call an EMT advanced or EMT intermediate then. In 1988, they went to an EMT cardiac technician, so that meant that they could read the EKG strips on patients. In 1990, the service started to start training staff at the AV Tech in Mars Hill to become paramedics. And July 1st, 1991, Yancey County started functioning at the paramedic level. So a little fun fact for you, Haywood County was the first county in North Carolina to become paramedic level, and then Yancey County was the 33rd county out of 100 to get up to paramedic. In 1991, that's when the county went with Mission Hospital at the time. And then July 1st, 2020 is when Yancey County took back over the county operations for the ambulance service with the sell over with HCA. And since then, in 2022, services expanded. We've had a community paramedic now, and recently, like Sonia was mentioning, we saw a huge need and growth for that service. So we recently have hired another community paramedic that officially starts tomorrow, so we are super excited about that. In 2023, we have expanded our services with SRT, a special response team, that includes 2 dual certified, so we've got their sheriff deputies as well as paramedics. And we have a wilderness rescue team with an expanded scope of practice and a canine ALS team for our canine officers, so we can take care of them if they become injured.
Tell us who the new county paramedic is.
It is Ms. Nicole McKinney, and she's here in the audience tonight. We've got a little bit of a slide coming up that describes her background. I can just use it for reference.
It's good just to screen share, but it wants to do WebEx, because that's the way it's set up, it wants to push on it, so.
So this one, it can,
No, it's not worked for us all day, I mean, it did for court, but it hasn't for us, so.
Okay.
Morgan even came in and worked with it for a long time, but kept trying to get it going.
Yeah.
We thought we had it, but then.
Alright, so a little bit about us. We have 25 full-time paramedics, so we've had a growth of 8 full-time positions since June 1st of 2023. 10 of those are critical care paramedics, so that means they've expanded their scope of what you graduate with from a community college, and it goes more into functions of like ventilator management, more invasive lines and drips. So we have 10 of those that are currently critical care, and we've got 2 in class right now to complete that. We've got 14 part-time paramedics, that's a growth of 12 positions since June of 2023. We have 2 advanced EMTs, one is currently in paramedic school and he should graduate the end of this year, and we've got another that's slated to start the next paramedic school in March. We have 7 employees who have 30+ years of experience, and that's kind of unheard of, as much turnover and burnout as what a lot of other surrounding counties are experiencing. So we're very proud of our veteran paramedics. We have 7 employees only that have less than 5 years experience. So when you think about new blood coming into the paramedic field, we've got a lot of experience within our group. And really, if you add up everybody's years of service, we've got a combined experience of over 550 years. So our service, we have 3 ALS units that operate 24/7, 365. And we're one of the only counties that I have found in recent, like conventions or EMS meetings that we have to go to that are dually paramedic staff. So that means there's 2 paramedics on a truck. Most counties are having to run a paramedic or an advanced or a paramedic EMT basic. So where that is really important is the state, we have a drug assisted airway protocol, and that's probably the highest skill reserve that we have. And that calls 2 paramedics have to be on scene for that. So with us being dually paramedic staff, we're able to complete that anytime and not have to call for backup resources, which is precious time that we have to wait if we're dealing with an airway emergency. We have over 92 drugs that are approved to give by North Carolina State Office of EMS and 66 approved skills that go along with that. We have 3 ALS QRVs, so that's like quick response, rapid vehicles. EMS shift supervisor that's on duty has one, the community paramedic has one, and then mine as well as staff, so we can respond anywhere in the county if they need help. We do provide mutual aid response to Madison and Mitchell only for emergency calls. If you think about it, we've got 3 trucks, but if Mitchell County was to call us for somebody that had a bellyache for a week, we would be taking a resource out of our county to go assist for what we would consider a routine, non-life-threatening emergency when somebody in our county could be having a true emergency. So emergency backup, we do all day long. The routine calls will hold, for another unit to become available in the next county. We do provide routine transport to and from primary care physician offices for patients who are bed-bound, as long as our 911 volume allows. So the citizens, whether it be a hospice patient or somebody who is bed-bound that needs to get to the doctor's office, we'll provide that service as long as we have a truck available that's not on a 911 call. We do also try to help out with the interfacility transports for critical patients from Blue Ridge Hospital to Mission. We can really go within a 60-mile radius, so if we needed to go to McDowell or somewhere like that, we could. However, it's the Blue Ridge's hospital, it's the discharging facility and the receiving facility's responsibility to coordinate that care. We just try to help when we can. So Mama Ground, or formerly known as RTS, that's their primary responsibility to take care of that transportation of those patients that need to be transferred. We try to help when we can as long as 911 volume allows. We don't want to take our 911 service out of the county unless we absolutely have to. We also don't take discharges from hospitals home or to a nursing facility who are not bed confined, and that's because CMS heavily regulates that. So if somebody doesn't truly necessitate an ambulance transport, then the bill is going to come right back on the patient, and that's going to be a hardship on them. So there's a lot of strict guidelines that we have to follow when we're doing discharges to ensure that the patient truly needs medical necessity for an ambulance. So some of the equipment that we have that we're very proud of is we have a power load stretcher, and that has decreased our back injuries and back strains by a lot. So as you can imagine, lifting the weight of the stretcher plus lifting the weight of the patient and uneven driveways, bad weather conditions, it can really take a toll on the provider. So this really will help and increase the longevity of our paramedics' careers, and really the cost of one of these pays for just a workman's comp back injury. So this has been a great tool to have. We have cardiac monitors that do pacing, cardioversion, defibrillation. They're one of the more advanced ones that you can get, which is great. They're those old X series ventilators, and when we do have to put a breathing tube in somebody, we can place them on a ventilator, which is a lot better than just squeezing a bag all the way to the hospital. So it frees up providers' hands to be able to take care of the patient, and it also allows us to manage the patient more adequately. We know the amount of volume that's being delivered to their lungs every time, and we can set the respiratory rate to a certain amount that's needed. So that is a very time-saving and critical piece of equipment that we've got. Our trucks, for truck remounts, what we do when the county bought the trucks in 2020 to take over, as the trucks are starting to wear out their longevity, we can buy a new chassis and just take the previous box that we've had and remount it onto the chassis. So that saves a lot of money in the long run as well. So we have one truck slated to get remounted to where they're just taking our box and putting them on a new chassis. And you'll notice that we're having Yancey EMS put on the sides and leaving Heritage on the back. When we go to Asheville or Mission, a lot of people are like, who's Heritage? What county is Heritage? So we're proud of Yancey County, and we want people to know where we're from. We love our trucks. We think they're the best looking trucks around. A lot of county agencies neighboring to us, they love our trucks because of the big grill guards, which saves a lot of money in the amount of deer that jump out in front of us transporting patients. But we want people to know where we're from, and we're proud to be from Yancey, so we wanted to add that to the trucks. Back in April, I have a lot of updates from this slide. We sent in our teaching institution application. It's still pending because of the state, but we will hopefully be our own teaching institute, so we can do all the continuing education for our paramedics in-house, and they won't have to go further out and look for Mainland or AB Tech unless it's like a specialty course. In the long run, we would like to run our own EMT through paramedic courses and get into the hospitals and offer that as well to the students. Like we had talked about, we've got the 2 SRT medics that we share with the Yancey County Sheriff's Department. And they also not only help with Yancey County, but they'll go to Avery County, or they'll go to Mitchell County or Madison, wherever they're needed. So they go assist other counties as well. We have formed a K9 ALS team, and in October 2021, House Bill 679 allowed us to provide ALS transport to a veterinarian hospital for all K9 officers and working dogs. So we have 12 members of our team who have had that specialized training, and MedVet just approved our protocols along with the state last 2 weeks ago. So that's something that's brand new that we're getting to roll out on the trucks with state approval. We have a wilderness rescue team. We have 96 miles of the Appalachian Trail that runs through Yancey County and about 190,000 acres of forest land. So we saw a need that we really needed to set up a team for this, because we'll have people from the coast decide that really has never hiked before that it's a great idea to hike Mount Mitchell on the first day here before they're acclimated. So,
Not a good idea.
no, not a very good idea. So, with our wilderness team, the state has approved additional protocols and expanded scope of practice for them to operate in a wilderness setting. So that has since been approved since April. And then we have a pediatric emergency care coordinator, and what his role is to ensure that all of our crews feel comfortable when we're treating pediatrics. He works closely with UNC Chapel Hill, and they give us the latest and greatest updates in pediatric emergency care to make sure that we're treating per the standard of the state and the newly released protocols that they have. We're very big with community outreach. We love getting out in the community, and here's just a couple of pictures of some of the things we've done over the past year. We helped with the community night out with the Sheriff's Department. That was a really awesome night with everybody in the community to come out, and kids enjoying getting to go through Mama and our trucks and the fire department vehicles. Camp Funshine is probably one of our absolute favorites. Everybody looks forward to every year, and that's where we go and assist Miss Lucy Wilson with Camp Funshine, and it's just very heartwarming and great to be out there with those folks. Concord Vacation Bible School, they asked us out to show the trucks to the kids, and they really enjoyed getting to go through that. Along with Yancey County Rescue Squad, they got to see all the heavy machinery and tools and stuff like that. Along with Hart, they came and they got to see the helicopter there. We also help with trick-or-treating on the square, so we have a tent set up and participate in that. Last year we dressed up as pirates. We're not sure yet what we're dressing up as this year. And a little friendly competition throughout the county. We are the reigning champions of the Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, so that's where all of the departments in the county get together and have a little friendly competition. So we got the trophy from Mr. Miles Howell with West Yancey, or excuse me, Burnsville Fire Department. And I hate needles, but we were about coming in close, so I had to roll my sleeve up and give us some blood so we could get that trophy. And one thing that we're extremely passionate about is getting out into our schools with our teachers. And we have been able to teach all of the teachers in Yancey County Stop the Bleed, CPR, EpiPen administration, and Narcan. So that's been huge. We worked with the school board and got in with those training dates, and we even got a training blitz this year right before school started. So we had one day that was dedicated to Stop the Bleed and Epi and Narcan, so that was great. Protocol expansion, so mid-October, the state is gonna release new protocols. We are expecting that they are going to expand on pre-hospital ultrasound and pre-hospital blood. So we're hoping to get in on those updates when they come out. So with the pre-hospital ultrasound, we'll be able to do what they call an EFAST exam, which is normally what the trauma surgeons will do as soon as we get them to mission. We'll be able to quickly assess for any internal bleeding throughout the abdomen, and which really helps because sometimes when we're initially there, we're there within minutes of a wreck, but sometimes that bleeding doesn't show up without the specialized tools until they're fine. We take them to Blue Ridge and man, now they're really going downhill. So this will be a good tool to help us with our destination on where we need to take patients to.
So this will be on the truck, but you can do it?
We're hoping as long as they expand that protocol, it's still up for debate, but that's that's the biggest. It'll probably be next July before that expansion takes place, but we'll go ahead and start the training, so we'll be able to roll that out if they expand it. And then another thing that we're really looking to put on the truck that's on the forefront of our mind is blood. So the state is really pushing pre-hospital blood administration because ages 1 through 44, trauma is the leading cause of death, and about 40% of those is due to blood loss. So right now, if somebody were to need blood, we would have to wait on the helicopter because they have blood products. But what do you do if it's a rainy, foggy night or the weather's not great? So it's really imperative, and the state's really taking an initiative to push out the need for pre-hospital blood. And we're unique where we don't have a hospital in our county, so there's a few logistical things that we've got to work out. But next week I've got a meeting with the trauma team at Mission, along with our medical director, who's very aggressive and wants us to be able to have this option. So we're gonna try to figure out how to get this to our truck. The military's been doing it for over 20 years with huge success, so they said, why can't EMS do it? Recent studies show that 36% of pre-hospital deaths are from hemorrhaging that was either preventable or potentially preventable. So meaning if we had blood products that we could have administered within 30 minutes of that injury, we could see that they would have a higher survivability rate at 24 hours post-injury and then again at 30 days past the injury. And they found that a massively bleeding patient should be replaced with blood, what they're bleeding out, instead of just crystalloid fluids, what we've normally been given. So this is our last 12-month net collection. So as you can see, our biggest chunk of revenue is from insurance. But last 12 months, and this was as of last week when I was putting the PowerPoint together, was a little over 1.2 million that we collected in insurance and payments. And then now I'll let Evan speak a little bit about our community paramedic program.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you, commissioners, for the continued support of our community paramedic program. I know it's made a huge impact to our citizens and keeping them out of the ER. So, objectives for our community paramedic program are focusing on the reduction of the high utilizers, or frequent flyers, and preventing hospital admissions and readmissions. So, keeping them out of the hospital, and then as well as trying to, if they go into the hospital, preventing them from going back into the hospital. Through the facilitation and patient use of and integration with social and medical support services. That will be our Yancey transportation, connecting people with DSS, home health, or hospice. Looking at some numbers, I know you saw these back in April, but in 22, I started out with 351 total calls for that year. Over double that to 877 in 23, and currently year to date, I believe it was September the 1st, I'm at 832 with a projection of 1,248 calls. So that leads me into welcoming that second community paramedic, Nicole McKinney, who's here. We're really wanting to welcome her. She is a critical care paramedic with 9.5 years of experience in a high volume EMS system, with already having a community paramedic program established. So welcome, Nicole. A few of the services that we provide are the couple assessments, the fall risk assessment, which is a CDC assessment that go into the home and see how likely, through a series of question and answers, how likely they are to fall and what they can do to help prevent those falls. Another one is a home safety assessment, and it's rather large. Assessment can take up to an hour to 2 hours, but once complete, you really have made that home a safer place, whether it be grab bars or moving items in a crowded hallway, looking for loose drugs. Do they have, carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers? I've been in houses where people said, oh yeah, I usually just call the fire department if something happens. Fire extinguisher is a key piece of equipment to have in your home, so anything we can do to make that home a safer place. I'd like to thank Sonia as well, doing the medical screenings with DSS. We happy to come out and help y'all. It's a privilege and making a huge difference with them as well. Not only does it help them, but it also keeps your 911 trucks in service, because these calls may be extended 2 and 3 hours with an APS agent doing that medical screening and getting the help they need, and it may not need to be in an emergency fashion. So, big leaps there. Hypertension follow-up and diabetes education, we provide those post-discharge from the hospital, as well as a primary care provider might see that a patient has a high A1C. Just the other day, I had a patient that called on a Saturday, unable to fix a diabetic machine that they have, a Dexcom. I don't know if friends are familiar with them, but it's a machine that a patient wears to know if they're extremely elevated or if they've been brought down real low, and this is crucial for her. So I was able to go out and keep a truck in service again and prevent her from having to go to a hospital and have an emergency. We'll follow up with any substance misuse within 72 hours and connect them with proper resources, whether it's RHA, Neil Dobbins, C365, any of those. Make sure they've got the correct services. And a lot of times they'll find those if they're transported to the hospitals, but if they don't, we don't want them to fall through the gaps. So we'll get those referrals from a shift supervisor and go out and address that need. Most all patients that I see will get a well person check, get a set of vital signs. Again, if they're diabetic, they'll get a blood glucose assessment. A huge one is medication compliance. So patients that are not adherent to those medications, and I'll come in and do a reconciliation where we sit there and we count out the pills and make sure, grandma's been taking all of her medications, and make sure they understand why. I've had people say, well, why am I on all these medications? Well, we've got the time to sit down and tell you why and work with your provider and make sure you need to be on X, Y, and Z. Just like the ambulance, we can do 12 and 15 lead EKGs, make sure everything's going correct with your heart from an electrical standpoint. We'll work with your primary care offices for people that can't come to the office to do lab work. We'll do those blood draws and get those back to people that can't get there. Another big one is education and review of plan of care. So going over that discharge paperwork when you get home and you've got paperwork and don't know what you're supposed to do, or you was at the hospital and heard, I get to go home, and forgot all about that paperwork. We'll go over that with you and make sure, you schedule follow-ups for, whatever appointment that you need, whether it's, follow up with your primary care or a specialist.
Evan, is that done by the doctor, or is that just, I'm at home?
Yep.
I can call you up and say, hey, I've got
So-
discharge, how does that work?
So according to my medical director, I need a referral from either your primary care provider, a caseworker, or if EMS was to come out. So that would probably come from, that one specifically would come from the hospital, so. One big program that we're proud of is our fall prevention program that we partnered with Mission's Trauma Program. They provide a fall form that the shift supervisor, when they have a routine fall, with no injuries and they're left and don't get transported to the hospital. Maybe family doesn't know what happened, or, they've not told them. This fall form will be filled out by the supervisor. I'll get a copy of it, make contact with that patient. There's a magnet that I don't know if everybody can see, that's attached to that. And so it's put in a high-vis area, probably on the refrigerator. And then it has extra resources such as Meals on Wheels, fall educations through High Country Area Agency on Aging, as well as my number, health department, social workers, and the senior center. And that is all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Good job.
No, that's it. This is just a 2023 recap. So we ended the year with close to 4,500 calls. We had 41 air medical patients that we flew out, and our average response time was 13 minutes and 24 seconds throughout the entire county. Busiest day was Friday of 2023.
So is that average response time is that comparable to all the other counties?
Yeah, it's comparable to counties that are rural, like Madison County, Mitchell. Yeah.
Like Asheville, the cities, they've got stations.
Correct, they've got multiple stations throughout and quicker substations that they can get to.
Well, we're very, very proud of y'all.
Thank
Very
you.
proud of what y'all
Thank you.
what y'all have done, and we appreciate you and your staff. Thank you very much for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to working with you. But thank you all for coming, thank you all for what you do. Yancey County can't survive without you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it so much.
Yep, and I definitely want to give a shout out to them, because without, them sticking through COVID and, the pandemic, that took a toll on a lot of responders, not only with their physical health, but their mental health as well. So really want to appreciate the staff and crews who stuck with it and stuck with us, so.
Thank you, Christie, appreciate it. Next on our agenda is our Mitchell Yancey Substance Abuse Task Force, anti-stigma presentation, Ms. Andrea Howe. Thanks for coming, man, appreciate it.
Thank you. So, my name is Andrea Howell, and I'm a registered nurse in the community. Tonight I'm here with my friend Lisa Schultz. We're here on behalf of what you formerly know as Mitchell Yancey Substance Abuse Task Force, who's now been renamed to Mitchell Yancey Prevention and Recovery Coalition. And the coalition is led by a large collaborative of community members with a variety of personal and professional experiences with common goals that we just want to make the commissioners aware of initiatives that we're pushing forward in the next year. So the common goals are to help each other be more compassionate and understanding towards each other and those that struggle with their mental health or substance use issues. Thank you. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner in training. I graduate next May, and so this is something that's very near and dear to my heart personally, but all the members of our coalition have deep feelings about this and deep understanding that it's a complicated issue and it's going to take all of our efforts. We want to help each other be more compassionate and understanding, and we want to empower those individuals that are trying to seek help by speaking out against the stigma of mental health and substance use issues. I myself have struggled with depression since I was a teenager, so I can speak from personal experience. And I think that personal aspect of it is what makes us more aware. Each of us are sculpted by our past experiences and our opinions and our beliefs wherever we go. Our life experiences and how we respond to them impact our biological, social, and physiological well-being. It's documented by research. That's what it also means to be human, okay? So what we're doing tonight is we're trying to help gain a new perspective. At this moment, we're actually going to consider ourselves and others, and we're asking you to do the same. We're asking you to visualize hope for everyone in Yancey County, and we're taking this presentation to Mitchell County Commissioners, we're taking this presentation to private employers, we're taking this presentation to local churches. We're trying to make a deep and committed impact for our community. We're trying to help people visualize how much healing can happen when we help each other with compassion. The first step towards compassion or towards change is awareness. Today we're starting this campaign in Yancey and Mitchell counties to raise awareness. The second step is acceptance. The Mitchell-Yancey Prevention and Recovery Coalition are attempting to create a space for the community to move forward, accepting each other for who we are, and we're all individuals. Okay, most of us at some level are insecure because of someone that has let down or hurt us. That trauma creates issues inside of us that have lasting consequences and hinder healing, and it needs healing. Our bumps and peculiarities, sometimes prickly personalities, make us unique. To understand each other, though, we first must understand ourselves and be merciful and look at ourselves with loving compassion, accepting ourselves and our imperfections and our insecurities and our hurts. Everyone deserves the opportunity to healing, and we can start this process by placing our egos and our hurts and our hang-ups aside and put the other person first. And many of you in your daily life can attest to this and the impacts that it can be, positive or negative. This is an ongoing process, and we must work on this individually, day by day, moment to moment. I myself have come a long way from how I feel and perceive other people and how I judge and treat other people. It's an ongoing process, just being frank. This is about accepting their journey as theirs and loving them through it. This is about us not hindering their journey to healing. And I'm grateful for those that helped me in my lowest points and my family's lowest points in our struggles. How about you? We are called to love. All people are made sacred. We're called to love our neighbors. We're called to love our enemies. Love is demonstrated through kindness, generosity, and forgiveness. These can be hard. Practically, we're asked to forgive each other, support each other in our progress towards well-being, hold boundaries with love, and let us not deny each other compassion, kind words with honesty, and giving each other chances 70 times 7. And that's a number of global totality in the scriptures of the Israelites. So what does it mean to be submitting? So how do we do this practically? We must submit. We're yielding to our rights and our preferences and desires and what we would do for someone else, and not project that upon them. It's an attitude of humility and respect. We're not asking to keep score or hold each other, hold things against each other. We're humbling ourselves and cultivating a humble heart. We're asking for forgiveness and reconciliation in conflicts. We choose forgiveness and seek reconciliation where possible, and that is a challenging task, but one we must pursue daily. And in doing this, we submit to authority, whatever that looks like in our lives, whether it be a local authority of law or our family members, if we're adolescents, or if we have parents, or employers, our employer, okay? So we're getting a new perspective. Let's visualize hope for everyone. Visualize how healing can happen when we help each other with compassion.
Well, there are several kinds of stigma. One of them is internal stigma. what you feel inside yourself, how you don't accept yourself. So if I am a substance user, I probably have a very low feeling about myself. Okay, I stigmatize myself. And that holds me back as well. There is external stigma and community stigma, and that's what you hear from the outside. She's nothing but an addict. Okay, that family you couldn't expect any more from them. What do you expect when you deal with one of the so-and-sos? Okay, we hear those kinds of things all the time. That stigma is put upon the person who is suffering, and they do suffer. And so that's another kind of stigma. And then there's structural stigma. Stigma that's built into, let's say you go to a helping agency, and the helping agency person is worn out from all the people who they have tried to help and who have not been able to help themselves. And they are burned out, and they pretty much written you off. Or you may encounter a health professional who believes that your addiction, your disease is a moral failing, a character flaw. Okay, so those are different kinds of stigma. I have a handout on different kinds of stigma as well. And we're trying to raise awareness of what the different kinds of stigma are that people encounter in their lives, and what it feels like, just to take a moment, step back and say, woo, what does that feel like if I'm that person? And how does that affect what I do? And whether I get help or not, and whether I accept that help, and whether I accept myself, and whether I can move forward.
This right here is a reality for many people who use drugs or have a chronic severe mental illness. Our community is no different. Some people face this with children in tow. Many of us would do dramatic yet unhealthy things to stay out of this reality. Most people released from jail or prison face this reality. This is what they're going to when they get released. But this is the reality where we tell them to help themselves, stay away from destructive relationships and substances, and this is the reality where they are resigned to, but absolutely don't use any substances to numb the pain or attempt to forget the gravity of this situation every day. We're beautifully complex beings, and our brains are intricate. And we want you to think about it from this perspective. The biological, the social, environmental, and the psychological all impact us. And all these little pieces makes us so complicated and so beautiful, but also so many areas that we need to consider whenever we're looking at someone and what they're struggling. We're seeing the outwardness of it. So, for those of you that don't know much about ACEs, these are adverse childhood experiences. These are things that affect us, and traumatic events that affect us in childhood from 0 to 17 years old. It's things like experiencing violence, abuse, neglect, witnessing violence to another, having a family member die or attempt to commit suicide. These are things that greatly impact the child trying to grow up with this in their home. It affects their mental health, their decision making, their stress response, their learning, their digestion, later on the ability to have proper body systems that work properly. It affects their risk for injury, ability to pay attention, thinking of education, and ability to drive a car and pay attention to things, their ability to have employment, the impact on their immune system, and pregnancy complications galore. It's a $748 billion per year issue, just in the United States and Canada. Okay. The risk factors included for substance use disorders, adverse childhood experiences, the ACEs, physical trauma, environmental issues, stressors, exposures, untreated co-occurring psychiatric illnesses, and genetics. mental health conditions, we're hoping that you see these as a chronic yet treatable health condition, not a moral failing, not just a decision that they make. It's complicated, and a lot of times it's a way for them to check out, or their body has adjusted in unhealthy ways to something that's happened to them that's out of their control. When it slips into addiction, it's defined as a compulsive behavior despite the harmful consequences, and the cycles are reoccurring, and they get better and they get worse, and they get better and they get worse. And they're in the same category as all these others, the adrenaline seeking, gambling. I mean, caffeine does things to our brain that are similar, gaming, nicotine, shopping addictions, and dopamine chasing addictions. We wanted you to see these as similar to the chronic diseases, obesity, COPD, asthma, diabetes, and hypertension. They're chronic yet treatable. They're not a moral failing. Substance use occurs on a spectrum, meaning from non-use to addiction and everything in between. Not every shoe fits every person. And the cycle of addictions in our brain is vicious, from preoccupation, anticipation of getting that reward system started, to binging on it and being totally intoxicated with it and the different aspects of your brain, all the way to withdrawal and the negative impacts after it's worn off, or your body's metabolized it. And it's so vicious, and it preoccupies your entire life. We wanted to make sure to focus on, so that people understand the impacts that we're having in our community and around the world on mental health. Depression is now the leading cause of disability worldwide. 1 in 5 adults experience mental health concerns, and that was in 2021. How they collected data has changed, so the numbers are not great for reporting purposes. 12 million U.S. adults have serious thoughts of suicide. That was in 2021, and 1 in 15 U.S. adults experience both substance use disorder and a mental illness. When thinking about the kiddos, we've had a dramatic shift. The unintentional motor vehicle accidents are prevalent, but we have had a dramatic increase in suicide and homicide among youth. And this is something that our community knows the loss of very well. And it's very, very near and dear to our hearts, but we want to not forget the impacts of what we're talking about. Suicide has become the leading cause of death among ages 10 to 14 in North Carolina in the past 5 years. 1 in 5 high school students in North Carolina seriously considered suicide in 2021, and it has only gotten worse since 2021. That leads us to risky behaviors. So whenever we're thinking about folks that have mental health conditions or issues or struggles, and then they shift their behaviors to risky behaviors, then we think about adolescents, and they're trying to cope and they're trying to check out by doing risky things. This is where the danger is. This is where we want to talk about prevention. The number of kids with anxiety or depression has nearly doubled since 2017. And homicide and suicide are the only causes of child death that have increased in North Carolina. Child deaths involving firearm has rose more than 40%. So how can we help our families? And this is leaning in on my colleagues with EMS and my social worker colleagues. How do we make a difference? And we're starting to have conversations, and we want you to have conversations with people you know and care about, and we want you to be aware of what's going on, and then we want to make positive steps in our community to improve the protective factors. And just like this tree in this picture, the protective factor is the family. Positive experiences in the child's life within their blood family or the social community family. It could be their church family, it could be, their friends and classroom family. So supporting families through early interventions, trying to improve secure attachments with kiddos to their parents. All of these are examples of things, and local activities to improve social engagements for youth, like youth groups, skate parks, pools, sports, extra expressive activities that youth can do. These are healthy peer engagements, and we would like to encourage those in our community. So stigma really harms. Our internal condemnation of others actually hinders their opportunity for healing. It makes them not want to ask for help. It hinders, it makes gaps in the community support and services. It perpetuates the discrepancies between evidence and what we do out in practice. It uses language that fosters condemnation and shame. They have enough on them of condemnation and shame, and when we pile it on top, it just affirms what they already feel about themselves, and it doesn't help that process of them wanting to move forward to become well. It decreases the likelihood of people seeking help. It makes negatively affecting impacts on the family and the individual. And then it extends the suffering generation after generation after generation. So thinking about ourselves, do we individually, council members and individuals in the audience, do we as individuals, do we think people that have mental illness, like my depression or severe mental illness, it doesn't matter which one it is, or someone that has substance use issues, do we think of them as less dependable, immoral, or weaker? What beliefs do we hold that someone's ability to change? Do we attribute their substance misuse or mental health issues to a moral shortcoming? What beliefs do we hold about someone and their abilities, their obstacles, and their capabilities? And what conclusions do we draw about them based on our previous experiences? And most of all, I like to ask that, how are we similar to each other? That's what we need to come back and realize. We're very similar. We've all been impacted by substance use and mental health challenges throughout our lives at some point or another, and myself, it's been multiple times. Have we been on the receiving end of misperceptions, incorrect assumptions, or shaming words? And how did that feel? How did that impact our mental health and our life? Have our friends been impacted this? How did that make them willing to go back and seek help later? Or how do we like being told no in a way that makes you feel like that person doesn't even care what you're going through, right? Just the shame. Okay, so think about it from this perspective. If you go to the ER and you have crushing chest pain and they determine that you're having a heart attack, you're told that it's your fault and it happened because of your life choices. You're denied access to all evidence-based treatment options because you did this to yourself. You're given a list of heart specialists, tests that you're to tell them to order. You're given an aspirin if you agree to change your ways, whatever that is that's impacting you. And then you're discharged from the hospital whenever that chest pain returns. That's pretty much what we are doing to folks that struggle with severe mental illness or substance use issues. The system is broken. The power of our words can harm or help heal. On the left, we have words that are impactful in a way that perpetuates the shame. And the words on the right are ways that it helps them feel not quite so shamed and identified as that's the only way that they're being able to be seen. They're a person, they're not just a drug addict or whatever, help me just fill in the blank. It just perpetuates the shame. So how we treat others, and it reflects how we believe, right? Imagine if we remove barriers to care, we use kind words that don't shame. Community support is based on the greatest need, not the ones that speak the loudest or the ones that have the ability to pay. What if treatments is based on evidence of what works best? People are fully informed of all the opportunities for treatment decisions, and services and support are not removed for having the disease symptoms. Okay, the community supports care options so that people can choose what's best for them. What works for me doesn't work necessarily for the other person, and so on. So what we're trying to ask is that we're asking people not to be afraid to tell your story and how your scars can exactly tell what others might need to see at that moment so that they can choose to live. Some people really are just desperately thirsty for someone that's similar to them. Thank you. Lisa?
Just like, Andrea's done a lot of work to tell you a lot about substance use and about the impact of city. One of the reasons I'm here is because there's a young man who I lost, who was who was a student of mine, and he overdosed and lost his life, and I'm still connected with his family. And everybody has, a lot of people in Yancey County can have a story. Some people have many stories like that they can tell. And that's why I'm here. And I think back and I think about that young man and I think, what if I had reached out a little more frequently? You know, I didn't avoid him, but I didn't really seek him out either. I didn't really seek him out and tell him what I was thinking about him. We are starting a campaign that's called the Anti-Stigma Campaign. We would like to see stigma changed to compassion in our community. This is gonna last for 4 months this year, probably come back next year sometime. And you're gonna see a banner in the town for it. You're gonna see an article in the newspaper. This is the first of 4 visits to the commissioners. My appeal to you at this time is, for each person in this room, my ask is, would you please, one time in the next month, before we come back next month, would you please have one conversation with someone about stigma? About what it is, about what you think about it. And there are no thoughts that are wrong, okay? There's nothing, we're all wherever we are on this spectrum or on this journey in our life. And there's nothing you can say that's really wrong. It's about, you know, you can say, well, you know, they compared it to a heart attack. Well, yeah, that's one thing you can think, but, you know, heart attack, my friend who had a heart attack didn't come over and steal things from my house or from his grandmother. You know, well, it's different. There are different kinds of illness. And when you combine mental illness with a physical condition, it becomes very complex. So I ask you to please have one conversation in the next month with anyone you want to about stigma, just to raise awareness, because that's the first step we're trying to do. When we come back next month, we will talk about the medical aspects, and we won't bore you to death, but we hope that we have the support of commissioners. Very brief. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
And I will say, we appreciate what you guys do and,
Yeah.
being a part of our opioid, I know Shell and a lot of their, attended every meeting and different things, and we appreciate that support in our opioid assessment.
Yes, thank you very much. What a great presentation. We appreciate
Thank you.
it. See you next month. All right, our next speaker from Bay Health, Mr. Dustin Burleson, a neighbor from Mitchell County. Thank you for coming, sir.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay. Very good. So, good evening, board. Thank you for having me. Dustin Burleson, Community Relations with Bay Health. And while we look through these slides, just want to, I guess, mention, because I know Sonia talked about, you know, the state of really foster care and kids on DSS couches. And I think the reality is, it's really not just, you know, obviously a Yancey County issue. It's not a statewide issue. It's a national issue that I think we've talked about tonight. There are more kids in the system with mental health issues, and the system's really not. A lot of kids go into residential service and they never leave, and so those beds never reopen. And so just acknowledging that. Oh goodness. Okay. But I think the first thing to just kind of make you guys aware of, the Child and Family Specialty Plan is something that we have come to talk about several times, asking for letters of support over the past couple of years to keep this away from being a statewide model and continuing to be localized. And, you know, appreciate y'all supporting that 3 separate times with letters of support. However, on a couple weeks ago, the department did announce that Blue Cross Blue Shield would be the statewide vendor for that. And so that means one statewide vendor for all 100 counties, which is really what we didn't think was the right decision. We thought it should stay local. However, that is the decision, and we'll respect that. So, a couple things about that. I think one is that the embedded care managers is kind of what VIA has set up in our 32 counties that we serve. So we have care managers that sit in DSS offices in all 32 counties, and they're there to be able to staff not only people that are VIA members, but any kid that's in foster care, and just to kind of be able to be supported. And so, as you might expect, with this announcement, our employees think that, you know, their job is gonna come to an end at some point. And so we're looking at strategies to keep those employees that are embedded in our DSS counties. But just to make you aware, and I talked to Sonia a little bit about this earlier, there is a chance that those vacancies they will become vacancies as they're looking for other jobs. We will continue to partner with DSS until the transition happens. Originally, it was talked about December 1st. We don't think that's realistic. We're thinking that really it's gonna probably be July 1st at the earliest due to the General Assembly and the long session that's coming up. And so, you know, some of the things that I guess we also think is unfortunate is VIA, we give up 2 seats to Edge County on our board of directors. And so we're not sure that Blue Cross will do that. We want to make sure that each county does have a voice in how we operate. And so just wanted to mention that as well. With that, just so you know, and you probably do, Taylor Plan did finally launch July 1, and this is something that, if you think back several years ago when Secretary Mandy Cohen was talking about Medicaid transformation, and then we went through standard plan, coming out with our standard plan commercial insurance providers. And then Taylor Plan was supposed to launch the next year, and it got delayed several years due to a lot of different reasons. However, it did finally launch, and so VIA became an officially a Taylor Plan. And so what that means, you know, think about historically, VIA's really managed all the behavioral health, substance use, and intellectual and developmental disability population. But now we manage the physical health side, pharmaceutical, transportation, so it's really that whole person care. And so we're excited about that. You can kind of see on the slides here, you know, if somebody's in Medicaid Direct today, basically they transition into Taylor Plan back on July 1st. So here's just a map that shows you the 4 LME MCOs that cover the state. VIA is the light blue, and we cover the majority of the historic Western North Carolina. And then when Cardinal Innovations did a merger into VIA, we adopted those 7 counties in the north central part of the state, and then Rowan County that kind of sits there. The anticipation is that, you know, MCOs could continue mergers as moving forward. Something important here to know is how do people know which Taylor Plan they're in. So similarly to the way Standard Plan launched is you would get a letter in the mail if you're an individual in Standard Plan, and it'll give you an opportunity to choose which plan you wanted to be in. What we realized that happened is most people see this letter and they don't have a clue who this person is, and so they trashed it, and so they were auto-enrolled in whatever plan that they were auto-enrolled in. And so, you know, those things could have happened with Taylor Plan, although the data we've seen, it seems like the transition was much smoother. The way to know is if they're Yancey County Medicaid, because VIA covers Yancey County, and they are in Taylor Plan, then they would be under VIA. So what's new? The biggest thing really is providers now must be in network to be covered, and they must choose a new primary care provider if that PCP is not in network. And so they have until January 31st of next year to change it. And then a member can move from Standard Plan to Taylor Plan. Obviously, you can see on the bottom who the Standard Plan providers are. If they move to Taylor Plan, they would receive more services than they do now. And then obviously the things that are staying the same there. Here's just an example of some of the services offered by Taylor Plan. It's really those high risk, high cost, more enhanced services that really Taylor Plan provides. If a member does opt out of Taylor Plans, these services would not be paid for by the other Medicaid managed care. So they would want to stay in there if they want to receive those services. So VIA Total Care is what VIA is calling Taylor Plan. And so each individual will get a VIA Total Care ID card. It'll have their primary care listed on that card. It'll also have the behavioral health crisis line, member and recipient services line, where they can call to really get any information that they need. Pharmacy line with our vendor that's doing that, a nurse line, how to schedule the non-emergency Medicaid transportation, and then they'll receive the information handbook and welcome packet once they enter into Taylor Plan. And you can go back and forth, and so that's important to know. There are perks for plan members. I won't go through them all, but I'll kind of just highlight what they are. Their wellness perks could be home delivered meals for somebody discharged from a qualifying hospital care. Pregnancy perks, GED perks, there could be vouchers for guidance, tutoring, things like that. There are also safety perks, so vouchers on home and safety assistance equipment that's not covered by Medicaid, and then what's called non-emergency or non-medical transportation perks. So up to 24 trips per year for Motive Care, who is our vendor, that could go to the grocery store, libraries, parks, etc. And then below it talks about the non-emergency Medicaid transportation, or you might have heard as NEMT through Motive Care, and kind of how that works through care management. So here's just a slide that basically gives you some information on what the tailored care managers with VIA would do. So somebody enters into Taylor Plan, they automatically are assigned a tailored care manager, and they really help them, if you think about it, like a spoke of a wheel. So really that connection point to the whole person need, anything that they would need there. Transitioning, these are my last couple slides. The Healthy Opportunities Pilot, just to make you guys aware, as you likely probably already are, but it was a $650 million funding, that's both state and federal funding, to really pilot this Healthy Opportunities model. And so Yancey County did, and we were really surprised at the Western counties, the amount of Western counties that was in this to be able to start. But Yancey County is one of those counties. The criteria, you gotta be enrolled in VIA Total Care Health and Medicaid Plan. You gotta have at least one qualifying physical or behavioral health condition and one qualifying social risk factor. And then obviously living in one of those counties below. And the four pieces, or the four supports, are housing supports, food supports, transportation supports, and interpersonal violence. And so it kind of gives you an example of what each of those would be supported with. And so that's what I got. What questions y'all have?
Thank you, Justin.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the board? Now, we need to approve the memorandum for the transportation agreement. Is that what we need to do? Okay.
Yep.
We'll do it here and then. Shane is hard to do.
Yeah, I think I can address that. Thank you, Mr. Harper.
Thank you.
Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You got a transportation and what that covers is basically, we are required by statute to adopt a policy or plan to address transportation on IBC orders. So IBC orders are voluntary commitment orders that are, for the most part, issued by magistrates. nutshell, the way it works is going to be that any of these respondents that are either residents of the town or physically located in the town, once the magistrate issues those orders, then the town will be responsible for their transportation to and from the evaluation. Their sheriff will be responsible for the transportation of county residents outside those of the town to and from the initial evaluation. And all other transportation other than those two, the county, through the sheriff's department, will be responsible for that. There may be times and situations when it is appropriate for the law enforcement to use their vehicle transport to provide the transportation to and from the evaluations. The statute provides in those instances for the local EMS services to provide that, so we have that in place. This has been a plan that's been in effect per an oral agreement for the last 4 years. And all this written document is to comply with the statute, put into effect essentially what we have been doing. This was all initiated and done, under the sheriff's direction. And I think Lynn and Morgan have reviewed it on the county's part. I believe folks at Bayou Wilson had input, as there is other folks. I reviewed the statutory language, with some modifications the last few days, including trying to bring the town on board with this, since they are also required to adopt the written plan. So the way it is drafted right now is between the county and the sheriff's department, and hopefully the county will review it and also sign on. Morgan and also there's some, adding further information, I'll be making a closure. But I would recommend you approve execute this agreement.
So this just legalizes what we've already been doing.
Yes, sir.
Of course, if it's EMS transport or something like that, any kind of Medicaid or Medicare, any kind of insurance would be billed for that. Obviously, the other ones from the sheriff's office, take them, it's just, hiring an employee there that's taking them, or not administering medical. So that, the EMS bill will pop up.
And I will add, if it is, obviously, officer will have to ride with us.
There are a lot of provisions in the statute that are added, it's not mandatory, but they're highly recommended that the transportation be by folks outside the home, that they be unlocked cars, that you try to have a person of the same gender that you're transporting. And a lot of this stuff is for the purposes, these are not criminals, these are people seeking mental health that you're required to provide. So as the others both spoke earlier, it's a way not to stigmatize this type of treatment. Shane is well aware of those requirements. He knows at times he may not have the staff that can actually do that. It is not required. It's highly recommended by the legislature. He's aware of that. And he understands. He's trying to get.
You don't ever obligation. That he's, working in case of one process.
Any questions? I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this. Memorandum.
He's not here.
Well, we had worked with him, and he wanted us to go ahead and say that tonight.
Donnie is.
Talked to Morgan and Donnie today. Okay, I'll make that.
Yeah, I've got a text from Shane that said that he's agreed.
So we have a motion to approve, do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Hearing none, vote, motion Next, item on the agenda, item number 8 is, Mr. Danny McIntosh, our interim tax administrator, he'll be talking to us about some tax refund releases, late applications, elderly disabled tax exemption, late applications, and approval.
I wish we were
Come, sir.
ready to go back. However, and we've learned over the past 18 weeks, and some plows in the field here, or some things just have to be worked on.
Yes, we do.
So here we are.
It seems like there's one every day that we have to say.
These are, releases and adjustments that have been made pursuant to the Board of Equalization and Review changes. You saw these as part of the consent agenda, but I'm here to answer questions on any particular matter that you might have in that area. If none, we'll move on.
I think we're good.
The next items, you've also had an opportunity to, review our refund request. And by the way, I don't know how many pages were in y'all's packet this month, but I've got to believe it was a lot.
7.
7.
Yeah.
I mean,
452.
400.
It looked like a cent.
And, you know, I think,
435.
people really can't appreciate what all has to happen here to make this work. We have, several refund requests that y'all also have had opportunity to review during your packet. And these are changes made as a result of taxes that were paid, and then subsequent actions of the Board of Equalization and Review resulted in a refund. I'll be happy to answer questions about any of those you might have.
The one thing about this is, there's been a commissioner sitting on every single one of these.
There have been, the commissioners have been diligent to be in attendance at those meetings, and, it's getting to be a long time now. The next subject here is the 4 applications we have for property tax release. These are late applications, and we're asking for your approval on those so that we may review those for qualification for the 2024 tax year. There's a variety of reasons these been presented to the commissioners, from extended hospital stays, multiple doctor visits, mobility problems, transportation problems. There's a lot of things that will affect all of us one of these days, that make it difficult to do things along the government's timeline. But y'all had an opportunity to review those too. I just want to make sure that you are in agreement with those. And if you would like to entertain me introducing all of these adjustments for a variety of reasons, you know, take one motion and vote, that's up to you.
Well, do we do them all at one time, or do we need to do them?
You have an opportunity to review them.
We have.
And you can, and if someone wants to make a motion, you can entertain a motion to do one of them, after of them, you can pull out ones that you have a disagreement on. If there's a motion and a second, if you wanna vote on all as a group, you certainly can do that.
How, is everybody good with doing it all the time? Okay, all right.
Okay, the first situation is a misapplication of the rules and standards of the appraisal process this year, as it relates to single wide and double wide mobile homes. It resulted in a correction of the appraisal with an excess tax bill of $1,883.28. And the assessor does recommend a release in that amount for properties located at 415 Blue Rock Road. The next one is a late application request and approval and a release of excess tax bill being collected due to, I guess it's due to the failure of currently past assessor to react to this in a timely fashion. 166 filed road, so this is a present use value application late. and the excess tax that was billed in the amount of $1,164.44. And the assessor would recommend that that release is indicated and recommended. Next one is the same situation about the present use value application. It was found in the office after the taxpayer came by inquiring about the status of that. So it also resulted in the application not being approved timely, and that the excess tax was billed and is recommended in a refund of $279.27, and that comes from 575 Rosewood Lane. The next one is also a request to correct taxable value on property 1951 Bowlins Creek Road as a result of the 2024 reappraisal process and overstatement of value and tax bill for 2024 in the amount of $384. The next one is a refund, $217.62, that is recommended as the Board of Equalization and Review reviewed this property after the tax was paid. The next one is 6267 Jacks Creek Road. Is the 2024 reappraisal process indicated a non-existent residential structure, and this resulted in an overstatement of taxes billed and collected in the amount of $2,263.15. The assessor does recommend that amount be allowed. The next one is from 1005 Bakers Creek Road. The property owner found that the assessment did indicate that the house, as of January 1, I think we had this 70% complete. He submitted evidence it was only 30% complete, and the result of that overstatement of value and tax collected is in the amount of $1,247.68, and the assessor's opinion is that refund or release is indicated and recommended in the amount of $1,247.68. The next one is a late application request for exempt property from 4055 East US Highway 19E bypass. This request to approve the late application for exemption for the Liberty Covenant Church 2024 and release that tax bill in the amount of $1,761.74. The next one relates to a vacant property along the East US Highway 19E bypass, that this property, as a result of the 2024 reappraisal process, is identified as a undeveloped piece of property when in essence it was undevelopable and a residual site. This condition resulted in overstatement of value and tax bill of $463.84. So this refund in the assessor's opinion is indicated and recommended in the amount of $463.84 because they paid early and they only paid the discounted rate, so that's all we get back. Had to get that in some way.
I knew you would.
This next request comes from 60 Mountain Highway Drive, that the property owner found that assessment for a building indicated of $36,700 was used to create taxable value, and the building on the property is taxed as personal property, so that resulted in an overstatement of value and excess tax bill for 2024 in the amount of $209.36. The assessor's opinion that refund release is indicated and recommended in the amount of $209.36. The next one is from 1279 Patterson Branch Road, and that the property owner found the property indicated a building value of $36,700 and that building was removed during the past reappraisal. The request is to correct the taxable value. This condition was created during the mass appraisal and resulted in the overstatement of value and tax bill in the amount of $758.83. The assessor's opinion is that refund release is indicated and recommended in the amount of $758.83. The next one is what could have been a vacant property on Horton Creek Road. And the property owner received 2024 tax bill due for a parcel that should have been removed for the 2023 tax year. This resulted in a consolidation in one deed for one parcel, and that did not happen. So the owners received a refund for the 2023 tax year. The condition was not corrected, so the property owners introduced sufficient evidence to require the tax office to remove this parcel from the file. So our request is to remove the parcel from the file and to release tax bill number 202417271 in its entirety. That amount of excess tax bill is $302.40. Yes, this is the one we've been looking for. This comes from 495 Ball Road, and as a result of the Board of Equalization Review hearings, found that the residential structure had been assessed and taxes having a full basement and a heating system that did in fact not exist, resulted in overstatement taxes, and the excess tax collected for the past 5 years is $32.64 a year for a total of $163.20. The property owner did request in writing that this excess tax be refunded. The assessor's opinion is that this refund is indicated and recommended in the amount of $163.20.
I'll make a motion that we approve, every one of these as recommended by our tax assessor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Thank you all.
Do you need to do another one for the EMD applications, the land approvals, or is one with?
We had 4 of those we talked about in y'all room, so yes, you can go ahead and make a motion, I guess, and vote to do that.
That one, yes. All right, this is for the END. Do I hear a motion that we approve the 4 ENDs?
Make that motion.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Okay, and just a matter of clarification, y'all are approving the late application, you're not actually approving
Right.
the application, because that still has to go through the qualification process.
Exactly. They've not been, yes, they still have to go through.
Right,
Right.
okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, Danny, we appreciate that. All right, next on the, agenda, item number 9 is our county manager's report, and she doesn't have much.
We'll be pretty quick. Yeah, we'll bring up the Duke Energy. We signed one easement, as you guys remember, with the Duke Energy for them to get, put in a couple extra power poles up there that helped them get it closer to the roadway. Well, since then, they have redone, they didn't put any power poles in, they kind of pumped the brakes, and they have got a new design. So met them up there, and as you can see up on the board, there's a lot more than 3 power poles. Now, this is, below the gate, before you get into the landfill. So, there was one that was gonna be on the far side of the road, on the left-hand side as you're driving in. We were a little bit worried about our clean water well, being over there, or gonna be over there, and being the same place as that pole, or it caused a problem for the digger, well driller to get in there. So we all met up there, and the Anchors QEA guys that monitors our landfill, they have reviewed these plans and say they, everything's out of their way. So Duke Energy would like for us to allow, these additional poles to be placed simply for their restructuring designs that they have going on in that area. And then also, folks to get access or work on those poles getting closer to the road. Yeah. So,
There's about 9 poles they're gonna put up there.
yeah, there's like 5 or 6. Now, there's already 2 or 3 that's already there, but it was an additional 4 poles where we just had like, we tried to make it as minimum as possible. But this is before you get to the gate, so this is not inside
Not
the
on our
landfill
workings.
gate.
Yeah.
Really no harm to us. They'll do a little tree clearing and stuff or put enough for the pole, but shouldn't be any big deal to us. It'll be, a lot of it'll be pretty close to the roadway, maybe, closer than what we dealing like, I'm not sure, but it's gonna be pretty close to the roadway. I did meet them up there, met the Duke Energy guys up there, and also cleared with the UEA guys, so. As far as I'm concerned, it's a lot more poles, but as far as hindering us on our, landfill in any way, or closing there of the landfill in the future, this year or so, I don't think it's gonna hinder us in any way, so. I did throw in this, we still want power down at the shooting range, and that, met a new guy up there, and he thought he could make it happen, but I'm not sure, it's really a whole different department than these guys are, so.
So they.
Still the same company, they didn't promise me, but they were, I think he wanted to make it sound pretty good, you know, while we were talking about location. So there's nothing in writing on that, but we would just be approving an easement for these poles on the right of way going into the landfill.
Any discussion? Any questions?
And the old one would become obsolete.
Yep, that'd be nice.
I'll still push for that.
Does Mitchell have to sign off on any of this?
That's.
Mitchell had already
Well,
signed
they're pushing on
off
the power to the shooting.
on it before, and then I met him, and I said, whoa, we can't sign off before it goes to the commissioners. But before we take the commissioners, I wanna meet you up there, because we have some clean water wells going in to clear off any kind of, stuff with that berm, you know, where we can close the landfill. So, we met on site, and come to find out, we didn't, the power pole had to be moved. They moved it across the road, so it wouldn't be in our way from the drillers. But Mitchell had already signed, yes, but they went back to the drawing board, moved the poles where we needed them. Anders signed off with the, easement there, as far as, you know, give us a thumbs up, and we brought it before you guys.
So now it's just that.
I'm not sure if Mitchell's re-signed the new one or not, but, we always wanna make sure everything's up before we sign, so.
We want the power.
We do want the power.
We'll sign it then. Give us the power. Shoot.
Well, and they won't promise us that, so if they need to, that'd be great.
That's my motion. Give us the power to shoot range.
Well, and I don't know, you know, that's from the gate to the other down in the shooting range, that's a long way far.
Is there anything over there? Is there any other stuff over that way?
Has Duke got anything down there?
Yeah, I don't know, you know, French Broad's got a few, and I don't know which poles are Duke and what's. Obviously, nobody's got
Duke's got power.
Obviously, nobody's got it past the observatory there, so.
Duke's got power.
Who's at the observatory?
Dr. Mercer.
Is it Duke or is
Yeah.
it French Broad? Duke?
Duke.
Duke.
Well, that's not that far.
No, it's not too far from the. You would say
So,
this,
so you wanna table it until we can get an answer on the shooting?
well, do you wanna make a motion that, we
did.
Well,
will
you-
sign?
yeah.
I did.
We will, okay. You
I
wanna-
made
So there's a motion on the table that we sign, the agreement if they agree to give us power to the shooting. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? I hear none opposed, motion carried.
Okay. And then the yearly leases, Morgan sent those out, last month. They're in your packet, nothing new on those leases, that's just all the county-owned properties. You know, those come up on a yearly basis, as far as, it's $10 a square foot rental. Everything's the same across the board, so you'll notice like Pruitt Health, RHA, it's down on 414, RHA that's on the Bluebird, on the Pensacola Road. The Parkway Playhouse is a 10-year lease, so you will not see that in your packet. You'll see Tommy Buchanan, down in Buchanan and Young, and the other couple of leases that goes down there, Limoncello, if I'm saying that right. And then, we did hear back from, from what's his name, Billy Radford. We did hear back from him, and he is moving, of course, he hasn't paid anything but like a month or two in the very beginning.
And he says,
When we
where's he
got
at?
that, so he's gonna
That's
move
the
the
little
property.
switch thing there.
Oh, next, we got it again?
Yeah.
Little small outbuilding
Right down by
there,
the old radio station.
so he's moving.
Has he moved to the building?
Not that I'm aware of in the last week, but I haven't been down there to
We
read.
got it today.
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty bad.
Supposed to do that this month. We'll follow up on that. So nothing new. Those are just in there for informational purposes. Like to put everything in our minutes, so, it's easy to go back and look up. Also, the Rainport Park bid, we have that to award tonight. We put out our bid, LS3P, spectacle on here, it's a little tiny print. LS3P is our engineers on that, architect, and they put the bid out. We were there, I think, Mark was there also, and David, when we accepted the bids. We got 4 bids in. One bid was, not qualified, or not a complete bid. That was one that, we didn't have the bid bond in there, didn't have the HUD forms or DBE forms, so we could not accept that bid, and you'll see that's down here on the bottom. So we had Tri-County put in, that was the unqualified bid. We had Brantley Construction, JBS Management Group, and Providence Construction. You'll see the certified bid tab, the highest bid being 1.666, lowest bid being 1.263, and I would just ask that you guys, award the bid tonight. The low bidder, which is JBS Management Group LLC, for the 1.263600. So, and then we'll contract out and make sure Donnie reviews all that good stuff before we move forward. You know, that's a Part F grant with a county match portion to it, and, we'd like to see that grant cycle, us get it done in the grant cycle and get as much as we can done before winter. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball to push this forward as far as, taking the winter and getting our building up. So, and I know JBS would, or who, whichever one we pick tonight, my recommendation is JBS is a low bidder. We'd like to get started.
We've already set aside the budget for that action.
Yes.
Is that your motion?
Makes that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Wood. All those in favor say aye. Another vote?
One question, we did have that time frame, right?
Yes.
On the bid.
No, well.
On the contract, yes.
Yes, yes. It'll be, well, we have a time on the grant too, so we got a lot of timelines here, but yes. They get, so many days, and I can't recall that straight off the top, we've got so many projects going on. Do what? Yes. They'll have performance, bid bonds and all that stuff, or performance bonds, not bid bonds. So, another thing is the Kid Mountain Playground, Part F update. Morgan may wanna add to that, as far as, we did receive that grant, as you guys know, from the Part F again. So that will be, going to bid. We hope to get it out by the end of this week. Now, we don't have our contract in hand for that, but we realize there's gonna be a 30-day bid, process to that. And so we could be bidding it out and get all our paperwork done, so when we sign the contract, we'll be ready to go. We can't pull down any money, or we can't spend any money before that contract is signed, and we realize that. But we wanna make sure that we get a good bid process, apples to apples, and it's a little bit, that's demo in the old, putting up new, or buying the playground equipment and putting up new for construction. So, we're excited to get Kid Mountain down. As you guys know, it's been bad repair for quite a while, and anxious to get something more, versatile in, that we can reach out to our autistic community and our elderly, our disabled folks. I know, different Hawthorne House and different things use it as well, our adults. So we're excited to get everybody playground equipment that they can use, and families can go up there. So excited about that, and wanna get it done as quickly as possible.
Is the plan for that to get done as well this year?
We're gonna try to get the bid out by Friday.
So we have to ready to work most to be finished.
So we hope to start, we look for contracts to be signed in October, and we wanna be able to start right then.
That's gonna depend on the,
I mean,
contract process, whether or not it gets finished.
They'll have to order the equipment and that kind of stuff, whoever gets it, so we asked a guy that was in our office today, I said, you know, if we ordered any kind of equipment today, how long? You know, not knowing what we were ordering or anything like that, cause we haven't put out the bid yet. And he said it's a 12-week lead time, so that kind of gives us an idea, you're looking at the first of the year, if you get it out in October, you got October, November, December, so you're looking at January, February, it gets spring, just depends on the weather too. But if we can go ahead and get something going, I said, we really.
Well, if we can have a bid rush, it'd be great.
Yeah. So it'll be the first of next year before that gets done, weather's great, yeah. Anything you wanna
Thank
ask?
you, still summertime.
We're making it
Well,
happen.
I commend Morgan for getting that grant too,
Yeah,
because she
thank
has
you,
been
Morgan.
really busy on working these grants, and she's been.
How much was it?
$305,000, and we will go back.
At least.
Yeah. Playground equipment is so
Yeah.
expensive.
Great.
We tried to get it a 5-to-1 match, so every $5 of theirs is one of ours, and more than for that, we worked on that, put that in, and we did not receive it, and it's on accessibility grant through Part F, that is more money, and everybody else is putting in for that same money too, so. We were tickled to get it, we came down to the wire between us and one other county, and because we had submitted this before, it gave us a little leg up, and we got it instead of the other county, and we got fully funded, and another county or two got partially funded, so. We were tickled to death. So, good job, Morgan, she got.
That's what's pretty fine, correct? It's about 30-year-old, right? Yeah.
I would, that don't seem possible.
So then I'll let Morgan tell you about the bike amenities.
Yeah, so the bike amenities it was a free initiative offered through the Department of Health and Human Services. It was really just a grant, and they put out an RFP, you write it, they wanna pick which county received it, each county was chosen to receive 2 bike racks. And a public works stand at no cost. And I had a lot of questions about what a public works stand was, and just, the tools that are accessible to everybody as they're riding their bicycle, that they need to make any adjustments, do any maintenance or anything, and we discussed the best placement for those, and I think we've decided on the farmer's market, the resource center, on the farmer's market will be public works stand and 1 bike rack. And then another bike rack at Raceway Park, since it's newly renovated up there, have a lot of traffic through there with some bicycles. So we're really excited about that, it was no cost, it cost us a dime, so.
Yeah,
get your
not the
bikes-
chain or
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, get your bikes ready, so.
Pit
We're
crew.
really excited about that.
Dick Craig, yeah.
So our Parks and Rec department went to Raleigh, got it back, and our maintenance guys have
We're done.
They're pretty good.
installing it, yes.
Hopefully be done this week.
So,
Get that done, so they gonna fix that bathroom.
It probably got a place at
You
home.
got your own shop, don't you?
But if you get that down and get rubbed down.
So then we have a resolution, and Morgan may wanna explain this a little bit more, for the opioid settlement funds. It's just, it's amendment to what we already had, it allows a little longer time, keeps us on track, makes it still good where we're not running on a 2023 or 2024, policy that's out of date. So this just keeps us in date, nothing's changed on the resolution except the date, just keeping us up to par there, so. Anything additional?
No, that was it, just that request of the nonprofit to extend their timeline to be able to spend money in a timely manner and then put us in compliance as well with the resolution, so that's just doing it.
They just have some money left over that they need to
Yes.
spend. And time is getting short.
Yep, and
Okay.
they need a little longer, so.
So we don't need anything on that, just on that resolution and then there.
Motion to have a motion to approve, and a second. All those in favor say aye. Hearing none opposed. Okay, thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is county commission report. Any commissioners have anything that they want to talk about before? Discuss? you got anything? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is our county attorney's report. All right, thank you for that. Next on the agenda is our public comment. We do have 6 speakers. And I'll say just like we always do, everybody gets a 3-minute time limit. And I will hold my hand up when the 3 minutes is up. And if you would, please everybody have respect for those that are speaking, whether you agree or disagree. And allow those folks to speak in peace, and then we will move to the next speaker. Our first speaker tonight, Ernie Everwing, and he's gonna be talking to us about property taxes. This is the podium right over here, Ernie. Thank you, sir.
Hopefully y'all can hear me.
You're just speaking into the microphone.
Okay, after the increases were passed, the internet lit up with so much vile, vicious garbage, it was hard for me to read sometimes. I've never seen such stuff in my life, but the smut was directed at folks that were basically their neighbors. The folks that make up our commissioners here. Even though my taxes almost doubled, I saw no reason in this. I wanted to vent my frustration as well, but my sensibility would not let me, and not until at least I checked things out first. So I began my own modest research and found 3 things I thought significant. First was a listing of my taxes for the past so many years. If you want to pass it around, feel free. Second thing, every 4 years with a caveat of 8 years, which apparently Yancey County is one, was adopted many years ago. It is a law that the counties of North Carolina will conduct an assessment of all properties in the county for tax purposes. I would guess that if this is not done, the state would probably come in and take over. So in 2020, there was no assessment. But what did happen in 2020? Can I hazard a guess? COVID. Very good. Okay, that happened, and I can't even guess all things COVID related that happened. I do know a few. Stay home, don't go to work, stay away from everybody. Death is coming. Anyway, one thing. As a result of no assessment in the year 2020, an off year for Yancey County, there was no property valuation for the year 2024. And I figured my taxes would have increased a little bit in 2020, but nothing happened. That didn't happen until 2024, property assessment for Yancey County that year. With something as bad as COVID was, there was obviously other different costs involved. Folks in the cities wanting to get away from COVID. What better way to move to the mountains? And because of that, our property values increase. More people, more need for housing, more folks, more county resources required. Fire, EMS, sheriff, public works, probably 5 or 6 others, and all the equipment required for those increases. I don't know, but it looked like that increase was a result of an 8-year property reevaluation with a 2020 A-bomb called COVID right smack dab in the middle of it. That raised our taxes to staggering heights. These people in this commission had nothing to do with anything 4 years ago, especially COVID. They only do what the law told them to. Conduct a property reevaluation for tax purposes and other things. I'm done now, so please yell at me for trying to shed some light on probably what happened and why we all received unexpected tax bills. These commissioners had nothing to do with it.
Thank you. All right, next on the public comments, Mr. Matt Willett. Speaking about the library and jobs. Thanks for coming, Matt.
Well, I appreciate the difficulty of your jobs, and it is difficult. As public servants, I feel like I have the right to express my deep disappointment that neither our library board members or our library board advisory members were present at the last regional library board meeting. Not a single one. It seems perhaps that you do not have the will to do the job you work so aggressively to take on, including actions that are against library policy, nor did you show or display any respect for the boards that did attend and the Yancey citizens that traveled over an hour to participate, especially since the removal of Yancey County Library was on the agenda. I'm sure you read it. Do you not take it seriously? Or were you not prepared to state your case? Either way, it seems like a dereliction of your duties. The spark that started us down this road was an individual who claimed that there was inappropriate and obscene materials in the library. There have been false and inflammatory claims about the people that work at the library. This has caused threatening, disgusting, and frankly dangerous situations for the staff, with little or no relief or support from local authorities. These claims, I feel, gave a pretext for the tactics that have been used to take over the library board. The individual in question was placed on the board as well as handpicked members to raise the numbers. The original individual has now been taken off the board as her usefulness is no longer necessary. Your concern for the safety and well-being of the children you claim you are trying to protect does not seem to merit engaging with the regional board to express your concerns or engage in any dialogue to resolve the issues that could result in the dissolution of our library, especially in light of their willingness to do so. You are telling people that the library will stay the same. The truth is, if we leave the regional system, we lose the materials, equipment, staff, mobile library, programs, and more. You do not have the funds to sustain the library as it is, and you should refrain from saying so. Also, please be open to resolving your concerns without our community losing such a vital and necessary resource. And also, if you have another reason for pulling out or an additional agenda, and it feels like you do, please be transparent about it. Your constituents deserve answers. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Matt. Next is Mr. James Roder. He's speaking to us about ethnic laws. Thanks for coming, James.
About what? About what?
What?
Ethics laws, not
Ethics laws.
Know nothing about that. All right, good evening, commissioners. Today I'd like to talk about Part 3A of Article 5 of Chapter 160A of the North Carolina General Statutes, which is concerned with ethics. GS 160A-86 subsection A states, governing boards shall adopt a resolution or policy containing a code of ethics to guide actions by the governing board members in the performance of the member's official duties as a member of that governing board. Previous commissioners passed a resolution on December 7, 2010. It states, 1, board members shall uphold the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, honor its oath of office, and obey all applicable laws regarding official actions taken as a board member. 2, board members shall uphold the integrity and independence of the board member's office and take action based upon the public good and not upon their own personal desires or improper influences. 3, as they carry out their official duties, board members shall honor the public trust, act as especially responsible citizens, and avoid impropriety. 4, board members shall faithfully perform the duties of office and shall act as one whom others can respect and trust. And 5, board members will conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner in compliance with all applicable laws governing open meetings and public records, honoring the spirit of the law as well as the letter of the law. It's worth noting that while none of you were on the board when this resolution was adopted, it still applies to you. The statutes, back to North Carolina, continue. All members of governing boards shall receive a minimum of 2 clock hours of ethics education within 12 months after initial election or appointment to the office, and again within 12 months after each subsequent election or appointment to the office. I requested the most recent copies of records on ethics training from the clerk, and I learned that while all of you have taken some course in ethics at some point, only one of you has completed the required training since your most recent election. Because the law requires you to receive ethics education after every time you are elected, 4 of you have violated the very first point of your own code of ethics, the part about upholding the laws of the state of North Carolina. And while some of the other points are subjective, it seems to me that in ignoring this law, you have failed to uphold the integrity of the office, honor the public trust, and act as especially responsible citizens. North Carolina does not specify any consequences for violating the code of ethics or for ignoring the required ethics education. However, it's reasonable to assume that commissioners who don't follow these laws, and that's exactly what they are, laws, might be willing to break others. Commissioners, I don't know whether you broke these laws intentionally or just to know about them, but I beg you, please start upholding the law and start following your own code of ethics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Next is Mr. John Boyd, Dr. John Boyd, speaking about Alpha. Thanks for coming, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And so mostly what I want to do tonight, I know you got these already, if you would pass these down. But it's an invitation to the house party this fall. We used to do it in December. December is a pretty crowded time. And so last year we started in the fall, and it's nice too because I can put some of the tables out on the deck and you can sit out there and enjoy the weather, and hopefully the weather will be good. And so again, I'll have the briskets, and I think Jeff would say that they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And deep fried turkeys and some other things as well. So it's always fun, and it's a good time to fellowship with a lot of people. Usually there'll be somewhere between 50 and 70 people at the house. So, and then while I'm here, I thought just a quick update. We just ran some numbers. The last 4 years, we've grown as a total growth of 46%. And during the same 4-year period, our workforce training has grown by 193%. So we've just about tripled our FTEs in workforce. And so, you know, we're putting a lot of energy and effort into all that. This year we hired a person to teach or to do the coordination for fire training, and we're also teaching a fire science class in Mitchell School. We've made the offer as well here, but the idea is to get them through firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 by graduation, so we have volunteers coming right away, because you all know how hard it is to find volunteers.
Yes.
And so having a full-time person doing all the coordinating, that puts us more like our EMS program where we have people out doing all the coordinating as well. And so we started culinary arts this fall, and we will be starting later in the fall our dental assisting program. We're waiting to finish the renovation on that. We're waiting on a grant from ARC that we're going to get, and that's with 30 other colleges to start a cybersecurity program. What we're going to do with ours is to start a certificate program, so any degree that a student gets, they can get an add-on cybersecurity degree or certificate. So that's coming as well. We also have implemented our $1.6 million Title III grant, which is focused on retention. We've hired a retention specialist. We've got a bunch more people out there to help students with their classes. We've got a help desk as well. So tutors, a lot of tutors and all that is part of this. So life is good.
Good.
And we appreciate everything you guys do, all of you, and hope to see you on the 1st of October.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd.
Yeah, take care.
Next speaker this evening is Miss Ingrid Ringler, speaking about the library and transparency. Thanks for coming, Ingrid.
Thank you. A little out of practice with public speaking.
It's all right.
Like many others, I started coming to these meetings over at the library brouhaha. I came in support of the library, but I came in ignorance. I was excited to broaden my civic engagement and to hear from the commissioners regarding what problems sparked this decision to withdraw from the regional library, how this move would address those problems, and what measures they were taking to ensure library services would not be interrupted. In the 3 months since that first meeting, I have not received clarification on any of those points.
I've received plenty of information from the opposition. The county has until July 1st, 2025 to reverse this decision. 97% of the library's collection belongs to the regional system. The bookmobile belongs to the regional system. The computers, the funding for the children's services, access to the ebooks I read when I travel for work, all tangible assets would have to be auctioned and the proceeds divided equally between the libraries, 3/4 of which are outside of Yancey County. From the commissioners, I have heard that, well, a new budget will be released in January, and no one needs to worry about anything until then. I have done administration work. I know how much work this move would take. We cannot simply sacrifice 6 months to not worry about it. Since that first meeting, I've heard troubling things about tax adjustments, which we've heard other talk about already this evening. I won't pretend I have time to go over those. I saw one article on this in the local paper with no concrete details. It all feels familiar. Commissioners, I have looked for ways to trust you and to trust this decision, both now and as we come into November. But if I may coin a phrase, I find your lack of transparency disturbing.
Thank you. Next, last but certainly not least, as a tradition, Mr. Danny McIntosh is going to give us probably a history lesson or something.
I'm gonna be quick because I know the clock is running. That's it. But tonight I'm gonna take a brief moment of personal privilege to talk about somebody whom our community has just lost. When I got to the West Burnford Baptist Church in 1956, Reba and Emerson Woody and their children were there. And as I grew up, they were there. Children grew up, moved away, and did what children do, but Reba and Emerson did not. Reba grew up pretty close, Mark, to right where you are today, and she never moved far. She died, she passed away Saturday at the age of 93, I think, 92 or 93, but anyway, she'd been to the West Burnford Baptist Church from the beginning. So I've known her a long time. She never changed. Her smile, her enthusiasm, her encouragement, and believe you me, she saw me at my best and at my worst, and more worse than best. I don't know, she may have told Roy and Ruth McIntosh, you need to kill him to get him out of his misery before we go on. But up until the last time I saw her, which was 3 or 4 weeks ago, Mark, I don't remember for sure. Her smile's still there as it's always been. These are the folks, these are the people, this is the very backbone of Yancey County. Families like that. And she just meant so much over the years. So I think that she's certainly worthy of mention here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And then next on the agenda, do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
Have a motion to approve, and you can give a second, whoever, I think I heard 2 or 3. Motion to adjourn. Thank y'all for coming. See you next month.